Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Wilkinson. I'm Manager of Communications and Media of the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency. Today, the SPSA will provide a technical overview of the wildfires in the province. I would also like to note that we are recording the call. The recording will be posted on our Facebook and YouTube pages following the call. Today, we'll hear from SPSA's President and Fire Commissioner Marlo Pritchard. We also have SPSA's Executive Director of Land Operations, Bryan Chartrand, to provide an overview of our fires of note and wildfire suppression activities. We have a hard stop at 2:15 today, so we'll ask members of the media to ask one question. If we have time remaining in the meeting, we'll go to follow-ups, but we have a hard stop at 2:15. So with that, I will turn it over to Marlo Pritchard for our update.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, welcome to the technical briefing for June 8th. Very similar to what we reported yesterday, as of today, we still have 24 active wildfires. Of those fires, 3 are categorized as contained, 6 not contained, 12 ongoing assessments, and 3 are listed at protecting values. In Saskatchewan, we've had 254 wildfires to date, which is well above our average of 143 at a similar time. We have anticipated around 400 values lost. We have confirmed 290. Those values can be anything from residents, lodges, equipment, boats, trailers. But as we move into this coming week, our verification teams will start moving into those communities and starting assessing damages. The number of evacuees remain between 10 and 15,000. They're either being supported by SPSA, Canadian Red Cross, or are staying with family and friends. And I will say that all of our fires received some rain over the past 24 hours. More rain fell on the west side, gradually tapering off to the east. And this rain was very, very much appreciated and needed. But we cannot slow down, and we're not going to slow down. This is a time where we can take advantage of this small window of opportunity. Gives us and our firefighter partners a small window of taking the fight directly to these fires while their intensity is lower. And I also want to note that at this point in time, we will be, and we already have hired some Type 3 firefighters to assist in these efforts. But I really want to call on community leaders, those community leaders that have Type 3 firefighters, to start getting names of those that have qualified, those have been trained, so that when we reach out over the next number of days, that we can quickly access those trained firefighters to supplement our Type 1s and Type 2s. Right now, we're working on setting up camps and those logistics supports that we need to take on Type 3s as we continue to move into the coming week. As a reminder, we still emergency crisis support. SPSA's emergency crisis support is still supporting those residents that have been evacuated from those communities that are with the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency. We also encourage those that are having issues or concerns to either call the 1-855-559-5502 in regards to the Wildfire Information Center from SPSA, or if your community has registered with or chosen a third-party provider with the Red Cross to help evacuations, please call the 1-800-863-6582. And with that, I will turn it over to Bryan to go into the fires of note and some of the highway closures and impacts that way. So over to you, Bryan.
Thanks, Marlo. Okay, thank you. So I'm sharing my screen here right now with some maps set up just so that we can have a bit of a visual of these fires and take a look at where they are on the map. So first on my list here, I have the Shoe Fire. So minimal growth on this fire. It's still just under 500,000 hectares at this time, still not contained. But we did receive 22 millimeters of rain on this fire, which makes a difference for us, definitely. So We're assessing the situation, looking for those hot zones and areas on these fires, and we'll be doing scans and moving personnel as needed to higher priority sectors of this fire. But currently, we have teams at Little Bear that are demobbing the Valley's protection kits because the threat of fire in that area is gone. We also have staff on the southeast corner, south corner, and southwest corner, which is down by the Smeaton, Snowden, and Choiceland areas, securing that line so the fire doesn't continue to progress southward towards those communities I just mentioned. And our priority on that fire is working northward on that west flank to have that secured so that it no longer jeopardizes the communities of Candle Lake and White Swan. Moving on to the next fire, we have the J. Smith listed here. So this fire is on the 102, which is southwest of South End. Currently, it is at 136,000 hectares. Again, this fire received rain, and we have our crews out there assessing, and again, coming up with tactics and strategies on priorities that we need to engage here while this window of opportunity is upon us. So they are doing assessments at Brabant. Again, it doesn't look like there's any fire threat, so those resources are being taken down. And we continue to work along the roadway, making sure that the roadway isn't jeopardized by falling trees or any other hot spots or infrastructure being threatened. As we continue to assess the perimeter to the northeast, which is where we want to ensure is out so that it doesn't continue to slowly move towards South End. As you can see, this is the shape of the fire. All of the yellow is older hot spots. If there's any fresh hot spots, they'd be red or orange. And there is no red. So that means the last 24 hours that we haven't had any significant runs that the satellites would have picked up. So again, this entire fire has got rain and no significant growth on this fire at all. So that's really looking good. Hopefully we can get some crews in there to have those lines secured. Next, we have the Pisu fire, and that one is the one that's affecting various communities around Larange, Arange, Hall Lake, Sucker River, and various other communities. Again, 24 millimeters of rain was reported in the community of Larange. So again, we have our staff checking on the values in the community of Hall Lake, throughout Larange, Arange, all the way up to Sucker River, making sure there's no more hot spots or any danger trees and hazards to any of the utility workers or to our staff or to possibly residents that will be returning in the coming days. We continue to work and set up fire guards and dozer breaks down by Napatak and Potato Lake. We have our Valley's protection teams continuing to work there in case these fires were to pick up again if we get some hot, dry weather again. So we just want to make sure that these values are protected. In the meantime, we are continuing to pay attention to the ditch fire, which is just south of this location. We're doing reconnaissance of this northern flank and coming up with strategic plans with putting dozer lines for possible backburn operations. But again, with the amount of rain that we got in the area, we're hoping to get some crews put in on the line and start putting hose lines down and containing this fire. Before I continue on the ditch fire, the next on my list I have is the wolf fire. So lots of yellow on the screen. This is a large fire that merged with two others. There's the Pelican 2, the wolf fire, and the club fire. They all joined, but we're keeping them the names all separate. So the wolf fire is kind of the most southern portion here. This lake just to the south is Amisk Lake. And we can see that we have Denair Beach that was impacted by this fire a few days ago. So this fire is 130,000 hectares in size. It's not contained. And the various communities around this fire have been evacuated. We're looking at Jan Lake, Birch Portage, Creighton, Denair Beach, and Sturgeon Weir, as well as Tyrrell Lake. So again, minimal rain in this area. We did receive some, so the temperatures are lower and the RH is higher, which is decreasing the intensity class of the fires. So again, our main priority is the communities and infrastructure around those communities. We have our crews working in Denair Beach and Creighton, putting out any hot spots. We have them working around along the roadway to assist the utility workers with SaskTel to repair the fiber optics line between the two communities as well. And again, we're still doing lost value assessments and documentation in the area. Next, the club fire, which a majority of that fire is on the Manitoba side. Where is it? The portion that's in Saskatchewan is 17,000 hectares. We've had minimal resources on this just because it hasn't been threatening any values in the vicinity of within Saskatchewan. The southern perimeter around Flin Flon and Creighton has been very inactive for numerous days. So we do patrol it to make sure nothing pops up. But again, nothing threatening any of the structures there. There's a couple of runs up north, but again, nothing, no values that we're aware of in our reconnaissance up there. So that fire is kind of just doing its thing in the north while we concentrate on the infrastructure in the south. I guess another note as well, you can see a bunch of different colors and kind of blobs on the map. Those are old fire scars that we save every single fire and locations of them, and this helps us strategize our tactics when it comes to fighting fires, because it does impact how a fire will progress depending on the indices and fuel types and fuel loading. So over to the Pelican 2. So this fire was merged with the Point fire. So it was two separate fires at one time that joined into one. The community of Pelican Narrows, we've been patrolling and putting out hotspots throughout the week, but things are looking really good there. We haven't found any threatening areas for numerous days now. So all our resources at that location, at that response base, has been down south in the Jan Lake area here, setting up dozer guards, valleys protection, and trying to remain keep the access open on the 135 into the community of Pelican. Again, with the rain, it definitely helped out. So we are looking at changing our tactics and going on the offensive and directly attacking this fire now, and as resources are available, and hopefully containing it where it is, so that's no longer jeopardizing Jan Lake or the road. And again, we can have those ongoing discussions with evacuees returning to their homes. And the next fire of note, we have the ditch fire, which I briefly touched on earlier regarding the north end. Just give it a second for my map to load. Again, we received rain on this fire, so very minimal growth. Fire intensity is lower. So again, we continue to patrol the perimeter, looking for hot spots, putting them out as they are found, and demobbing our valleys protection equipment from locations that are no longer under threat. And that's around the Waquin area, Ramsey Bay, in addition to the northeast side of Montreal Lake by Mullinosa as well. There's been some structures that we have sprinkler kits put on and dozer lines. So we're patrolling those dozer lines, making sure that there's nothing going to spot over and continue to have this fire grow in the coming days. So taking full advantage of this weather as best we can. And again, as we get better assessments and better strategies planned and infrastructure in place, we will be looking for type 3s and additional assistance with getting these things contained. But that's the end of my report. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Bryan, and thanks, Marlo. We'll now go into questions. As a reminder, please one question and identify your outlet. Okay, Olivier Pierre from CBC.
Yes, hi, Pierre with CBC French Radio Canada. Scott declared a state of emergency more than a week ago. How has this impacted the SPSA ability to fight the wildfires? Do you have more resources than before? And also, are there any other resources or enhanced powers granted by the emergency declaration that the SPSA currently has access to, but has not yet utilized in the wildfire fighting efforts?
Thanks for the question. If I understood you correctly, Pierre, you're asking about the emergency declaration, the declaration of emergency for the province, if that had a positive impact on us. As we've said before, the emergency declaration did, I guess, demonstrate the urgency across all of Canada and all of our compacts. And I would say that, yes, it did assist us in becoming a priority when we reached across to our Canadian partners and our compact partners when we needed resources. We have brought in a number of resources, whether they were air assets or firefighters from either across Canada, in the States, to assist us in battling these wildfires. We continually assess our needs on a daily basis, sometimes more than once on a day, during a day, to determine if we need further assets. And I can tell you that conversation or those assessments are ongoing, and we will continue to bring in assets as needed that best fit into our strategies for those coming days.
Nicole?
Hi, thank you. This is Nicole from the Leader Post. I noticed that the evacuation order was lifted for Weyakwan, so some folks have potentially been returning home. You said that things are looking a little bit better in Pelican Narrows and I think La Ronge as well. Is there any expectation that the evacuation order might be lifted in the coming days?
Thanks, Nicole. What I can say is the evacuation is always community-led. We continually assess the risks. You heard Bryan talk about us going into communities and demobbing some of our values protection, but we're also looking at other risks, making sure that the critical infrastructure, whether that be water, sewer, power, are on, whether there is any safety concerns around fallen trees or access, smoke. So we continually work with those communities to, I guess, best determine when those evacuation orders can be lifted. Weyakwan, I can confirm, for the most part, most of those individuals have returned. And we're working closely with the other evacuated communities and will over the next 24, 72 hours to determine when those communities are safe enough to consider returning or repatriating those evacuees. So that's an ongoing process as we speak.
Thank you.
Timur?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay, hi, sorry, I wanted to make sure because the last time you guys couldn't hear me. Okay, I want to ask you a little bit about some of these communities that obviously at this point now are not going to necessarily, it seems, need the amount of evacuations that they've had before, the kind of resources from a personal equipment perspective as these fires get lessened. I think we're trying to understand from a national perspective, as wildfires are happening in different parts of the country, right? And where, say, for example, today we're hearing a lot of damage in northwestern Ontario. Can you give us a sense of, when these personnel that you're getting from different states, from different provinces, at what point do they get moved around when, say from Saskatchewan's perspective, a wildfire is no longer of note anymore, or is getting lessened, or you're continuing to fight it, people can get back in there now? What does that look like? At what point are those calls being made, and has that already happened for some of the wildfires in Saskatchewan?
There was a lot there, Tamara. So if I understood you right, you're looking for what is the process for releasing assets that have been deployed to Saskatchewan to go to other provinces? Is that what I understand?
Yes, that's correct. Sorry, there were a bunch of questions there, partly because from a process perspective, I'm trying to understand now, as there's other fires happening elsewhere that are very extreme, right? At what point does Saskatchewan make that call? From your logistics and personnel perspective, when do you decide it's okay that, some of these firefighters could maybe need to be moved elsewhere?
Okay, you know what? I'm going to turn that over to Bryan. He can talk you through the process, but the short of that answer is when our risk and our wildfires are to the point where the majority of them are contained, no longer a threat to communities, and the activity has diminished substantively. I can say that although we had a 24-hour period of rain, that will not be a substantive impact long term. We need more rain to reduce future risks. But I'll let Bryan go into the details of how that is assessed.
Thanks, Marlo. Yeah, there's a lot to that question, but again, those conversations happen multiple times a day as we assess the ever-changing circumstances that we're dealing with. And yeah, with the number of fires and the size of these fires that we have, we would need multiple days of rain to fully extinguish them. But even once they're out, there's weeks of work to refurbish and get our equipment back to a readiness state for continued fires, right? So it's only at the beginning of June, which is normally when our seasons start. So there's still a lot of summer and most likely fires coming ahead yet. Hopefully not, but we still have weeks ahead, and those conversations happen daily. We have provincial meetings, regional meetings, and we also have our meetings with other provinces with CFC and other compact meetings and discussions as well. So we're looking not only within our province, but we talk with our partners and allies and determine what their needs are and what we can do. And yeah, we'll release resources as they're not needed. But again, there's still a lot of work out there. We got a little bit of reprieve, which we're very appreciative of, but we're not out of the woods yet, and we got a lot to get done before anything's released at this time. But again, those discussions happen daily, and we're always ready to help out our partners whenever and however we can.
Okay, and doing a call out for any more questions. Okay, you can go ahead with your follow-up.
Hi, sorry. Since nobody else had questions, I did want to ask another question about, since people are being let back into these communities now, like Lac Rouge and some others, could you describe to us the sense of, because you'd given some numbers last week about the structures that were affected, that were, destroyed, taken with these fires. What does it look like there right now in some of these places as people, are their homes really affected? What are they walking into now?
I'll just correct you there. I mean, we are not repatriating La Ronge at this point in time. The only community that has started or is for the most part repatriated them to this date is Weyakwan. The other communities are being assessed, working with our protection officers, our emergency services officers, and members of SPSA. We are in those communities assessing risk and working with the leadership to determine when it is safe and the best time to repatriate those that have had to evacuate, whether it was smoke or direct threat to fire. We do know that there are some communities that have been impacted substantively by the wildfires, Denair Beach being the most hard hit. But there's a number of other ones as well that have lost, parks and houses. And so we know that when they do return, some of them are going to see some devastation within their communities. And so we'll do our best to support them. We'll support the communities. But those are days ahead. We're not at that point to repatriate, like you said, Larange. But that is definitely something that we will be considering.
Aaliyah,
Hi, can you hear me okay?
we can, yes.
Amazing. So I'm Aaliyah from CBC, and I was just wondering, you mentioned a lot of communities are seeing the wildfires slow down and things are looking good. I know Candle Lake had, an imminent threat a few days ago, and I was just wondering what the wildfire surrounding that area is looking like right now. Is the community going to have to evacuate? What's going on there?
Bryan, I'll turn that over to you.
Thanks, Marlo. And good question. It's really hard to say. We gotta, we keep an eye on the weather and pay a lot of attention to our forecasts when it comes to wildfires. And so far, there's nothing forecasted to show that there's going to be any drastic changes having that fire come in order for that community to be under any type of threat. We would need a very strong east wind to push it west, and that's just not in the forecast. And again, we received 22 mils of rain on that fire, which is not quite an inch of rain. So that fire is looking pretty good. And again, our priority is to secure that west flank of that fire so that community is no longer under threat. So again, we don't perceive to be any challenges there, but again, we can only tell based on the weather that we have. Things are looking good now. Things can always change, but we're not expecting anything to anytime soon over the next number of days.
Thanks, Bryan. Tamura, you have another follow-up?
Yeah, just could we get a quick update on Creighton as well, if that's okay?
Sure. I guess when you mean update, so no structures have been lost at Creighton. We have a lot of volunteer fire departments and emergency management personnel out that way, protecting those values and surrounding structures best they can. But as for the community itself of Creighton, there's been no significant loss of any structures there.
Okay, and I will do a final call out for questions. Daniel?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, yeah.
Okay, great. I was just wondering, could you just give a breakdown of some of the areas in which we've seen across the province the largest amount of loss of structures and particularly homes? And I'm Daniel from 980C Jamie.
We're currently doing that verification process. We know Denair Beach is probably the community that was hardest hit. East Trout was also another community, or cabins and RVs were hit. So those are the two that we would say at this point in time were the hardest hit. But the verification teams are just going to be going out on Monday, and we will be starting to do assessments with boots on the ground. And so we'll get a better picture in the coming days.
Colin, you're up next. Please identify your outlet.
Yes, Colin Cote from Radio Canada. Sorry, I just landed. I didn't get the first part of the media availability, but if you could summarize, like in, let's say, 2-3 sentences, like the situation of, the province, could you do that for me, please?
Hi there. We can send you some information after this.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, and I see Tamuri have another follow-up. Oh, okay. So with that, I don't see any more questions. So I'll wrap this up for today. Tomorrow we'll have another media availability at 1:30. Thanks and have a safe rest of your day.